Welcome to part 4 of Mastering Working with Objects in CorelDRAW. We will learn about copying an object's attributes and applying them to other objects. We have briefly talked about these tools in the past. We will also learn about cloning and editing objects. Finally, we will learn about creating and editing symbols. Let us start by copying some of the attributes of the objects in the left column and apply them to the objects in the right column. I want to copy the text attributes of the letter A in the left-hand column and apply them to the letter A in the right-hand column. The tool to use is the Attributes Eyedropper. You can access it from the toolbox bar. Click on this black triangle in the bottom right corner of the Color Eyedropper tool. From the submenu, click on Attributes Eyedropper. Your cursor will change to look like an eyedropper. Up in the Properties bar, you will see three attributes groups: Properties, Transformations, and Effects. I will start with the Properties group. From the Properties drop-down menu, place a check mark next to text. Leave the other two attributes unchecked and click OK. This means that only the style of the text will be copied and applied to the target object. I will open the Transformations drop-down menu and the Effects drop-down menu and make sure there are no check marks against any attributes in these groups. Next, I will hover my cursor over the letter A in the left-hand column and left-click once to copy the text attribute. My cursor changes to look like a paint bucket. I will hover the cursor over the A in the right-hand column and left-click once to apply the copied attributes. You will note that only the style of the text was applied to the target object. The fill and outline attributes remain unchanged. Next, I want to copy the text and outline attributes from the letter B in the left-hand column and apply these to the letter B in the right-hand column. For that, I will open the drop-down menu under Properties and place a check mark against Outline. Leave Fill unchecked and click OK. I will hover my cursor over B and left-click once. Then hover the cursor over the target object B and left-click once to apply the copied attributes. Our target object now has the same text style and the outline width and color as our source object. Next, from the Properties drop-down menu, I will place a check mark next to the Fill attribute. I will ensure that the other two attributes have a check mark against them as well, and click OK. I will left-click once on C to copy these three attributes. Then I will click on C to apply the same attributes to it. As you can see, the style of the text, the outline width and color, as well as the fill of the target object changed to match the source object. Let us have a look at the Transformations group. We will copy various transformation attributes from the object on the left side of the page and apply them to the three objects on the right side of the page. But first, I will remove the check marks placed against the attributes in the Properties group. For the first example, I will only copy and apply the Size attribute. From the drop-down menu under Transformations, I will place a check mark against the Size attribute and click OK. Move my cursor over the source object and left-click once to copy the Size attribute. Then I will hover the cursor over this target object and left-click once to apply the copied attribute. Next, from the drop-down menu under Transformations, I will add a check mark against Rotation, leaving everything else unchanged. Click OK. Left-click once on the source object to copy these two attributes, and then left-click on the target object to apply the same. Now I will open the Transformations drop-down menu and remove the check mark that was placed against Rotation. and place a check mark against position. Click OK. The position attribute will place the target object at the same X and Y coordinates as the source object. The source object's position coordinates are X is equal to 2.365 inches and Y is equal to 4.215 inches. I will left click to copy these attributes. Then I will left click on the target object to apply the copied attributes. As you can see, in addition to the change in size, the position coordinates of both the objects are identical. X is equal to 2.365 inches and Y is equal to 4.215 inches. These two objects in the left-hand column will be used to copy attributes from. The objects in the right-hand column will be our target objects. Select the top left object to add perspective to it. From the menu bar, click on Effects to open the drop-down menu. Scroll down and click on Add Perspective. You will note that our selected object now shows a big black square on each corner. You will also see red dashed lines showing a grid inside the object. I will grab the black square in the top left corner and move it up and to the left. Then I will grab the top right black square and move it up and to the right. Switch to the Pick tool to confirm the perspective change. Select the attributes eyedropper. Then from the menu bar, click on Effects to open the drop-down menu. I will place a check mark against perspective and click OK. Then under the Properties group, I will place a check mark next to Outline and click OK. And from the Transformations group, I will make sure there is a check mark next to Size Alone and click OK. Now I will left click and copy the selected attributes, move the cursor over the target object and left click once to apply the same. I will select this object to apply the envelope effect to it. I will open the submenu under the Drop Shadow group and click on Envelope. You will note that a dotted line shows up along the selected object's outline. You will also see the nodes along this outline. From the Properties bar, I will click on this icon for double arc mode. Then to change the top portion of the outline into a double arc line, I will grab the node in the top right corner and move it up. Release the mouse button when I get to the desired point. Next, from the Properties bar, I will click on this icon for single arc mode. Then from the bottom section of the outline, I will grab the center node and pull it down. Release the mouse button when I get to the desired spot. Switch to the Pick tool. This will be our source object. Select the Attributes eyedropper and open the drop-down menu under Properties. Remove any check marks present and click OK. I will repeat the same for the Transformations group. Then from the drop-down menu under Effects, I will remove all existing check marks and place a check mark against Envelope. Click OK. Then left-click to copy the attributes. Left-click on the target object to apply the copied attributes. Let us try the Extrude attribute. Here I have two objects. Using the Extrude tool, I will convert the square object on the left into a cube. I will select the object and open the submenu under the Drop Shadow group and click on Extrude. I will place my cursor in the center of this object, left-click and hold the mouse button, and drag the mouse diagonally upwards. Release the mouse button when I get to the desired point, and switch to the Pick tool. Our square object is now a cube. This will be our source object. In-depth instructions on the Extrude tool will be in a separate tutorial. Now I will switch to the Attributes eyedropper and open the drop-down menu under Effects. Place a check mark next to Extrude and remove all of the check marks. I will ensure that there are no check marks against any of the attributes under the Properties and Transformations groups. I will hover over the cube object and left-click to copy the selected attributes. Then left-click on the target object to apply the same. Let us apply a contour effect to an object. In-depth instructions on the contour tool will be in a separate tutorial. I will select this object and then open the submenu under the Drop Shadow group. Scroll down and click on Contour. Up in the Properties bar, you will note that I have the contour set to 25 and the contour offset is set to 0.13 inches. Now I will left-click and hold along the right side of this object and drag the mouse to the right. Release the mouse button once I get to the desired point. You will see an object with 25 contour steps. We will copy the contour attribute from the object on the left and apply it to the object on the right. Select the Attributes Eyedropper tool and click to open the drop-down menu under Properties. Place a check mark next to the outline and fill attributes. Click OK. Check and make sure there are no check marks against any of the attributes under the Transformations group. Open the drop-down menu under the Effects group. Place a check mark against Contour and remove all of the check marks. Click OK. Now left-click once to copy the selected attributes. Move the mouse over the target object and left-click to apply the copied attributes. You can also copy and apply the Power Clip attribute. I will click on this image to select it. Then from the menu bar, click on Object to open the drop-down menu. Scroll down and hover over Power Clip, and from the submenu, click on Place Inside Frame. My cursor changes into a thick black arrow. I will move my cursor over this text and left-click once to create a power clip. Now I will switch to the Attributes Eyedropper. I will make sure there are no check marks under the Properties and the Transformations groups. Then open the drop-down menu under the Effects group and place a check mark next to Power Clip. I will remove all of the check marks and click OK. Then I will move my cursor over the power clip that we just created and left-click once. Move the cursor over to the next text and left-click to apply the copied attributes. Let us have a look at a couple of more examples. The object on the top of this page has a drop shadow effect applied to it. I want to copy its attributes and apply them to the object at the bottom of this page. I will switch to the Attributes Eyedropper. Make sure there are no check marks against the Properties and the Transformations groups. Then I will open the drop-down menu under the Effects group and place a check mark next to Drop Shadow. I will remove all of the check marks and click OK. Then move my cursor over this object and left-click once to copy the selected attributes. Move the cursor over the target object and left-click to apply the copied attributes. Here again, I have two objects on this page. The object on the left was in fact a circle. Using the Distort tool, the circle was altered to the present shape. I want to copy its attributes and apply them to the object on the right. Select the Attributes Eyedropper and make sure there are no check marks under the Properties and the Transformations groups. Then I will open the drop-down menu under the Effects group and place a check mark next to Distortion. I will remove all of the check marks and click OK. I will move the cursor over the object on the left and left-click once to copy the selected attributes. Then move the cursor over to the target object and left-click once to apply the copied attributes. You can select and copy multiple attributes from the three attributes groups and apply them simultaneously to the target object. Let us talk about creating clones and editing them as well as creating and editing symbols. When you clone an object, you're basically creating a copy of that object. Changes that you make to the original object are automatically reflected in its clones. But that is not the case if you were to make changes to a clone. Changes that you make to a clone remain local to that clone. They are not reflected in the original object or in any of the clones of the same object. You can edit multiple clones of an object by simply making the changes to the original object. If you need a clone to differ from the original, then simply edit that clone. I will select the object I want to clone. From the menu bar, click on Edit to open the drop-down menu. Scroll down and click on Clone. I will grab this cloned object and move it. I will create one more clone of the original object and place it elsewhere on the page. Then from the original object, I will select the open eye and change its color. As you can see, the same eye on the two clones has also been changed to reflect the changes made to the original object. Next, I will select the hands from the original object and change their color. The color of the hands of the clones changed accordingly. But if I select one of the hands of a clone and change its color, the change in color is limited to this clone only. The original object and the other clones of this object remain unchanged. This comes in handy when you wish to make some minor changes to a clone without impacting the original object or the other clones of that object. I will clone this object and move it to the right. Then I will select the lower portion of this clone and change its shape slightly. Next, I will make changes to its outline. I will change the outline width to 1 millimeter and change the outline color to red. But after making these changes, I realized I do not like the changes. I wish to have this object identical to the original. For that, I will select the clone and right-click on it. From the pop-up menu, click on Revert to Master. This will open the Revert to Master menu. Here, I will place a check mark next to all the attributes I made the changes to. Click OK. If I select one of the original objects and hit the Delete key, the original as well as all its clones will get deleted. But if I select one of the clones and hit the Delete key, only that one clone gets deleted. The original as well as the other clones of that object do not get deleted. On a page with multiple objects and multiple clones of each object placed randomly on the page, it can take some time to select all the clones of a particular object. This can be made quick and easy if you follow the following steps. Select one of the clones of an object and right-click on it. From the pop-up menu, click on Select Master. I will end up selecting just the original object. Likewise, with the original object selected, I will right-click on it to bring up the pop-up menu. From here, I will click on Select Clones to select all the clones of that particular object. If you plan to use an object numerous times, it might be better to convert the object to a symbol. This way, the file size remains manageable. To open and launch the Symbol Manager Docker, click on Window from the menu bar. From the drop-down menu, scroll down and hover over Dockers. From the submenu, click on Symbol Manager. Or you can press Ctrl F3, Command F3 on the Mac to launch and open the Symbol Manager. Select the object you wish to convert into a symbol. From the menu bar, click on Object to open the drop-down menu. Scroll down and hover over Symbol. And from the submenu, click on New Symbol. The Create New Symbol menu pops up. Type in the name for the symbol. In my case, I will type Apple. Click OK. In the Symbol Manager Docker, you can now see the image of the Apple symbol and its name. This icon in the bottom left of the Symbol Manager Docker is for Insert Symbol. The one immediately to its right is for Edit Symbol. And the next icon is for Delete Symbol. To place an instance of the Apple symbol on the page, click on the Insert Symbol icon. I will add a couple of more instances of the Apple symbol to the page. To edit the symbol, click on Edit Symbol. This will bring up the editable copy of the Apple symbol. I will click to select the stem of the apple and change its color. The button for Finish Editing Object will be in the bottom left of the screen. Click on it to confirm the change. The change is immediately reflected in the instances of that symbol on the page. I can select any instance of the symbol and delete it without impacting the other instances of that symbol. But if I select the Apple icon in the Symbol Manager and click on the Delete Symbol icon, a confirmation window pops up. If I click on Yes, not only will the symbol be removed from the Symbol Manager, but all its instances that we used in our document will also be removed. If you have instances of a symbol on multiple pages, any changes made to that symbol will be reflected in all instances. I'm going to place an instance of the Apple symbol on a couple of pages. Then I will click on the Edit Symbol icon. This brings up the editable copy of the symbol. I will select the leaf and change its color. When done, I will click on Finish Editing Object to confirm the change. As you can see, the change was applied to all the instances. But it is not quite the same with clones. I will create a couple of clones of this object. Then I will select and copy one of these clones. Switch to a different page and paste it here. Now I will go back to the original object and edit it. I will select the OpenEye and change its color. As expected, all the clones on this page change accordingly. But the copied and pasted clone on the other page remains unchanged. However, there is a way around this. There is this empty space that surrounds every page. Objects placed in this empty space are visible on all pages in the document. I will create a clone of this object and place it in this empty space. Now I will switch to another page. I can grab that clone and move it onto the page. I will switch back to the page with the original object and make a change to it. Once again, I will change the color of the OpenEye and then the color of the hands. As expected, the change was applied to the clones on this page. And when I switch to the other page, you will notice the same changes applied to this clone as well. That brings us to the end of part 4 of the tutorial on mastering working with objects in CorelDRAW. Please take your time exploring objects and get familiar with all its features and capabilities. Next, we will learn about the Effects tool in CorelDRAW. To learn about the Effects tool, please access the course on Mastering Working with the Effects tool in CorelDRAW, or click on the link provided below in the description of this video. You can also access the previously published tutorials. To do so, please click on the links provided below in the description of this video.